It was a beautiful morning on the island of Sodor, and all the engines set out for another hard day's work. Gordon was working extra hard. It would be his final week in service before he would be withdrawn for his 10-yearly overhaul. Gordon and his driver agreed to attempt some extra fast timings for the express, so he would go out in a blaze of glory. "What a fine sight I am," he boasted. The other engines took no notice. They were more lenient than usual, understanding that Gordon would be out of action soon, and he was making up for a long absence. On the end of his last day, the Fat Controller came to see him as his fire was being put out. "You have truly given a remarkable performance, and 10 years of sterling service to the railway," announced the Fat Controller proudly. "Oh, thank you, sir," beamed Gordon. "It means a great deal to hear those words from you, sir. And the award for best performance goes to... Now is the time for your major overhaul. We have some of the best engineers of Great Britain in our works, so do not fear. Your overhaul shan't take as long as that of your brother, Flying Scotsman." Gordon chuckled knowingly. "But just like your brother, we'll be making a few improvements to enhance your performance. I hope you don't mind." "Of course not, sir," said Gordon. "I'll come back better than ever." "That's a good engine," smiled the Fat Controller. "You will be sorely missed, but you will be back in action in the next 12 to 16 months. Goodbye, Gordon, and enjoy your well-earned rest." "Thank you, sir." The Fat Controller tipped his hat and went home. "When I return, I'll be bigger and better than ever," gloated Gordon. "Pity you're not talking about your ego getting any better," huffed James. "You can talk." "Do I detect a hint of jealousy?" "Certainly not," snorted James. "I just don't see why we have to be lumbered with your work while you swan off to get some improvements." "Jealousy? I knew it. These improvements won't count for much compared to my new shape," explained Henry. "I'm a completely new engine. And maybe that's what the Fat Controller has planned for me. Maybe so. But the only other example you have to go off is Flying Scotsman, and he hasn't changed much. I'll be so greatly improved you'll have to call me the Flying Gordon. Flying Fatface, more like. The Flying Scotsman isn't even Scottish either." "Oh, that's irrelevant," grumbled Gordon. "If it's good enough for Scotsman, it's good enough for me. It should be good enough for the rest of us too." "Yes, well, you're not related to Scotsman, so shut up." "Stop this bickering, everyone," interrupted Edward. "May we please have one last night with our dear friend before he goes away? Let us reminisce and be happy tonight." Edward's words of wisdom brought the engines into agreement, and they talked and laughed until the stars came out. The next morning, Gordon was being towed to the works. "Don't miss me too much," he smirked. We'll do our very best," replied Douglas cynically. During the months that followed, the big engines took it in turns to take the express. The engines worked hard to make sure Gordon's absence on the railway was never felt, and that the express kept to time. It was around the 15-month mark when Gordon's overhaul was completed, and the engines returned to find their old friend looking exactly the same. "Welcome back, Gordon," said Henry. "Thank you, my dear Henry. Not much has changed around here." "We could say the same for you," observed Donald. "Indeed, where are these improvements?" asked James abruptly. "They're on the inside," replied Gordon. "Rubbish!" hissed James. "They must have forgotten." "You'll see," came the simple reply. But the engines didn't see. As Gordon had been tested and approved for service, he began pulling the express again. But soon, problems began to occur. Whilst Gordon had had new parts such as new cylinders, motion, and firebox built for him, the main improvement was his blast pipe. This modification greatly reduced exhaust back pressure, making Gordon more economical and free-running, and also kept his fire tubes clean, reducing the long hours it would usually take to clean and maintain him. But there was a catch. The new blast pipe created a soft exhaust whenever Gordon puffed along. The steam and smoke wouldn't climb above the train, and instead would drift into the driver's view. Gordon would be forced to slow down. The problem became so persistent that another engine would have to pilot Gordon's trains. The Fat Controller soon became very concerned. "I do apologize, Gordon, for the inconvenience caused to you. We should have realized this would have happened." "What is to be done, sir?" asked Gordon worriedly. "While there is available space, you will be taken back to the works for assessment. A solution will be discovered, and when you have completed the trials, you will return to the main line," said the Fat Controller. So off Gordon went, back to the works again. "I wonder what they'll do?" asked Duck. "Who knows?" said Henry. "But whatever it'll be, you can be sure Gordon won't like it." Henry was right. 2 weeks later, the engines were surprised to see Gordon reverse in. "Now there's an improvement," chortled James. "You can see the difference now," laughed Henry. "Silence!" boomed the Fat Controller. "Now, Gordon, this is the only solution. We know it works, and the Railway Board have approved it, so you must make the best of this." "Yes, sir," muttered Gordon. Gordon had been given smoke deflectors. The engines took great delight in teasing Gordon. "When you said you were going to be bigger, I didn't think you meant make your ears bigger. Och, you could fly off with those ears." "Aye, well, he did say he wanted to be called Flying Gordon. More like Dumbo, if you ask me. Well, I ain't never seen a Gordon fly." Gordon bit his tongue. Whilst the smoke deflectors did their job well, Gordon soon found his own visibility impaired. Whenever another engine would pull up alongside, he would have no idea who it was. "Your coaches are waiting for you at the station, Gordon." "Who said that?" "I did." "Who?" "Me." "I don't know who this is." "Oh, never mind," and Duck rolled away. Gordon began to feel depressed. Edward spoke kindly to him. "Do cheer up, Gordon. I think you look rather fetching in those deflectors." "I don't," grunted Gordon miserably. "They're ugly and horrid. I look like a Continental locomotive instead of one of Gresley's finest." "They are accurate for a relative of Scotsman. You look more alike than you ever did before," complimented Edward. "I don't care. It's hard to see where I'm going with these things on. Surely they can't be safe if I can't see the line properly, too." "You should ask Murdoch for some advice. He has smoke deflectors, and he gets around perfectly safe," said Edward. "You'll just have to live with it for the time being." Gordon tried his best, but nothing could make him resent his smoke deflectors any less. A few days later, Gordon set out with the express. He was still feeling sorry for himself. Further down the main line, George the steamroller was protesting right in the middle of the level crossing. "Railways are no good, turn 'em into roads." "You fat green idiot, you've stopped on the main line," cried the gatekeeper. "Get this suicidal roller off the track now." "Come on, George," pleaded the driver. "Move before a train comes." "They can't do anything to me, I'm hard as nails," growled George. "Besides, they've got brakes, ain't they?" The gatekeeper quickly phoned the signal box in one direction. The signalman changed the signal to danger, and Donald came to a safe halt at the crossing. However, the gatekeeper wasn't quick enough ringing the signalman in the opposite direction. By the time the message got through, the signalman changed the signal. Gordon raced past it. He hadn't seen it. "Move, George!" cried Donald. "It's Gordon!" "He'll stop!" George's driver and the gatekeeper ran clear. Gordon rounded the bend. Suddenly, there appearing into his view was George. "Look out!" shouted Gordon. Gordon had crashed through the gates and collided with George. No one was hurt, but both steam engine and steamroller were left dazed and confused. That evening, the Fat Controller came to see Gordon in the shed. "I have spoken severely with George, and demand he be reprimanded swiftly. He won't be causing any more trouble for the next month." "I do feel partly responsible, sir," muttered Gordon sadly. "My smoke deflectors block my view partially. I didn't see the signal, nor did I see George until it was too late." The Fat Controller pondered. "I see. Perhaps, sir, it would be best to remove the smoke deflectors and have my original blast pipe reinstated." The Fat Controller sighed sympathetically. "Whilst that will inevitably be the case, Gordon, I'm afraid it cannot happen right at this instant. You are in good working order, and the deflectors prove an important job. This was one unfortunate incident that normally wouldn't occur. The deflectors must remain attached until time can be arranged for you to be taken out of service again, but you cannot push in the works queue. Other engines' needs are far greater. Emily and Toby are due for their respective overhauls. Oliver needs retubing, and Henry needs his tires turning. Until then, you will just have to put up with them. Sometimes in life, you don't get your own way, and you must be patient." Gordon was very disappointed, but fully understood. "I'm sorry we ever interfered with you, Gordon." The Fat Controller walked quietly away. Gordon continues to wear his smoke deflectors until a time can be scheduled for Gordon to be sent to the works, when a space becomes available. The other engine's teasing has subsided. Now they debate on whether they like the smoke deflectors or not. Some do, some don't. Many children at the station mistake Gordon for a new engine and crowd around him. This in turn cheers Gordon up, for he adores the attention. Though whenever Gordon begins to get too boastful, the other engines know exactly how to bring him back down to earth. "Say, Dougie, if it's good enough for Scotsman, it's good enough for Gordon." Gordon just sulks.